I'd worked for the Hainard family for 10 years as their all-around house manager, pulling in $50,000 a month. The first thing Lori Hainard's fiancé did after walking through the door was put me in my place. A housekeeper making $50,000. What did you do? Put a spell on these people. Starting today, your salary drops to $3,000. You handle cleaning only. Everything else is none of your business. The Hainard family said nothing. They just let her go at me. I didn't argue. I smiled and signed the pay cut agreement. A few days later, the Hainard household completely fell apart. Lori's mother, Mrs. Hainard, had a depressive episode without my bedtime aromatherapy sessions and trashed the living room. Lori's father, Mr. Hainard, skipped the specialized meal plan I'd been managing for his gout and ended up in the emergency room. Lori's international video conference fell apart without me doing live interpretation, and he tanked a deal worth tens of millions. His fiancé came at me furious. Why did you stop doing your job? I held up the agreement. A $3,000 cleaner clocks out when the floors are done. A stack of financial statements hit the table with a dull thud. Brina, I went through the Hainard family's old accounts. You're a housekeeper pulling $50,000 a month. Do you think that makes any sense from a market standpoint? I looked up. Lori's fiancée, Anita Jones, stood with her arms crossed, eyes fixed on me. Rumor had it she had a master's from Cambridge and was a high-level finance executive. I hadn't expected her first move in the Hainard household to be going after me. Miss Anita, my salary was set 10 years ago by Lori's grandfather himself. That $50,000 covers everything I do as a full-service house manager. I kept my voice even. Full-service house manager. Anita let out a sharp laugh. You mean a fancy maid? Pouring water, sweeping floors, cooking meals. You could hire someone off the street for $3,000 and get the same thing. So what exactly justifies $50,000? I didn't respond to her. I turned to Lori instead. Lori, is this what you want to? Lori locked his phone screen and looked away. Brina, Anita, and I are getting married next month. She'll be the lady of this house, and it makes sense for her to take over managing things. The business hasn't been doing great lately, and the household expenses are high. I hope you can be understanding. Mrs. Hainard blew a bit of powder off her nails, unhurried. That's right, Brina. You've been with us for 10 years. We've always thought of you as family. Let's not make this about money. You're a woman on your own out there. $50,000 really is too much. Mr. Hainard set down his coffee cup. Brina, Marina, young people need to be grateful. The Hainard family gave you a roof over your head. You can't just think about the paycheck. $3,000 isn't bad. There are plenty of college graduates out there who don't even make that. I looked at the people I'd spent 10 years serving. Something cold settled in my chest. Henry Hainard had only been gone 6 months, and they were already this eager to push me out. Fine. I nodded. Anita blinked. She hadn't expected me to agree so easily. She'd had a whole speech ready. Every sharp word stuck in her throat. Bring me the pay cut agreement. I'll sign it. Anita pulled out a document. Read it carefully. Starting today, your salary is $3,000. You handle cleaning only. Anything else is not your concern. I picked up the pen and signed without hesitation. Lori's brow furrowed slightly. Brina, Anita has a background in finance. She's applying forward-thinking principles to optimize how this household runs. Don't be resistant about it. I almost laughed. Lori, so forward-thinking means paying someone $3,000 to do the work worth $50? That's a distortion. Lori's voice rose. Anita calls it cost optimization. You were making $50,000 because no one in this house knew enough to keep tabs on you. You exploited that. I didn't reply. I turned to look at Mr. Hainard instead. Gout had drained the color from his face. Brina, don't get worked up. Mr. Hainard spoke first. Lori has an international video conference tonight. There's a financing deal worth tens of millions on the line. Get the interpretation done first. We can sort out the rest later. I pointed to the antique clock on the wall. Mr. Hainard, it's 6 o'clock. The going rate for live interpretation is $3,000 an hour. If you need it on short notice, that requires a separate contract. Anita gave a cold laugh. It's just interpretation. You think the world stops without you? I got Lori the latest AI interpretation earpiece. The underlying logic runs circles around someone like you, and it doesn't come with attitude. I nodded, untied my apron, folded it neatly, and set it on the table. Then I wish you great success with your AI. I turned and walked toward the door. Mrs. Hainard was holding a cup of soup that had gone completely cold. Brina, you're really just going to leave like that? You've given 10 years to this family. We've never treated you badly. Just spend a little, and I'll have Anita bump your pay up to $4,000. I stopped and turned around. Ma'am, $4,000 won't cover my bedtime aromatherapy. Mrs. Hainard's expression went stiff. Ungrateful girl. Anita called after me loudly. Let her go. We've been spoiling her. Tomorrow I'll go hire 3 cleaners. Together they won't even cost $5,000, and they'll be more thorough than she ever was. I pushed open the front door and walked slowly back to the small studio I rented on the street behind the Hainard estate. It was the first time in 10 years I'd gotten off work at 6 in the evening. No medicinal broths to simmer, no business documents to translate, no endless complaints from Mrs. Hainard. I boiled myself a simple bowl of pasta, curled up on the couch, and turned on the TV. My phone buzzed constantly. It was the Hainard family's group chat on WhatsApp. Anita was in there issuing orders. It's everyone starting today. The household runs on a KPI check-in system. Mr. Hainard's medication schedule and Mrs. Hainard's sleep cycle will both be tracked in spreadsheets. We are building a high-performance health optimization loop. I stared at the wall of corporate speak and muted the chat. After dinner, I took a hot shower and lay down in bed. As I closed my eyes, I thought back to 10 years ago. My grandmother was lying in the ICU. Lori's grandfather, Henry Hainard, pressed a bank card into my hand. Take this, girl. Get her the help she needs. If you ever make something of yourself, look after the Hainard family for 10 years in return. Tomorrow would be the last day of that 10-year promise. I rolled over and fell into a deep sleep. The next morning at 7, I was standing in the Hainard kitchen right on time. The cheap cook Anita had hired was scrambling around, barely keeping up with the prep work. Mr. Hainard took one bite of what was on his plate and immediately spat it out. What is this slop? Anita shuffled downstairs in her slippers. Mr. Hainard, this is the clean eating meal plan I ordered for you. It's designed for optimal health. Mr. Hainard's face went dark. I have gout. You're serving me seafood salad. Anita froze, then whipped around to glare at me as I wiped down the counter. Brina, did you do this on purpose? Mr. Hainard has gout. Why didn't you tell anyone when you handed things off? What are you playing at? I kept wiping the table without looking up. Miss Anita, the agreement is pretty clear. I'm here as a cleaner now. 3,000 covers wiping tables and sweeping floors. A client's medical history, dietary restrictions, and health management. That falls under a private nutritionist or a senior house manager. You wanted a flat management structure. That means each role does its own job. Anita sputtered, her face red with frustration. Don't give me that. How do you think this worked before? Mr. Hainard ate seafood before and nothing happened. I straightened up. Before, I was making $50,000. Mr. Hainard's gout was managed through a custom meal plan I developed myself. Now that my pay has been cut, that meal plan is my personal work product. It's not part of a $3,000 cleaning contract. Anita's jaw tightened. When you were making $50,000, everything in this house belonged to the Hainard family. Taking that plan with you is theft of company assets. I looked at her coolly. Miss Anita, if you'd like to treat this as a business dispute, you're welcome to file a lawsuit. Would you like me to get you the number for the Hainard Group's legal department? Lori came downstairs with dark circles under his eyes. He looked worn out. His tie was crooked. That's enough. He pressed his fingers to his temple. Lori, how did the international call go last night? Anita hurried over to him. Did the AI earpiece knock it out of the park? Lori's expression said everything. That piece of junk translated core technology as Apple Core. The guys on the other end thought we were joking. They cut the call. Anita's smile froze. How's that possible? I paid $2,000 for the latest model. She scrambled for an excuse. It must still be in the deep learning phase. You have to feed it more data. And the other party probably had a heavy accent. That would throw off the algorithm. Lori waved her off, irritated. Fine. The deal's dead. Move on. As long as we still have the exclusive license to Berlano's core algorithm, one lost project isn't going to sink us. Mrs. Hainard walked in, hair a mess. Her eyes were sunken, red all the way through. Without my aromatherapy session, she clearly hadn't slept a wink. Brina, go light my calming diffuser. She said it out of pure habit. I picked up the mop and started on the floor. Ma'am, managing the diffuser is part of house management services. I'm a cleaner now. Cleaners handle floors. Mrs. Hainard's temper snapped. How dare you talk back to me? I'm paying you. Anita quickly stepped in and grabbed her arm. Mrs. Hainard, don't beg her. Those aromatherapy tricks of hers are all smoke and mirrors. I brought you high-dose melatonin from abroad. It's far more scientific than anything she's been doing. Mrs. Hainard hesitated. Does it actually work? My head is pounding. Absolutely. It goes straight to the central nervous system and rebuilds your sleep cycle. Anita pressed a bottle of pills into Mrs. Hainard's hand. By noon, I'd finished mopping the entire ground floor. I rinsed out the mop and checked the time. 12 o'clock. I'm on my lunch break. I untied my apron and headed for the door. Lori stepped in front of me. I went through the household accounts today and found something interesting. She dropped the stack on the table. Brina, you're not going anywhere until we sort this out. The invoices scattered across the table. Anita tapped one with the toe of her shoe. Brina, your monthly budget for groceries was $20,000, but I checked the market prices for the premium sea cucumber and wild abalone you used to buy. Her eyes were sharp with accusation. $20,000 wouldn't even cover a fraction of those ingredients. Were you buying fakes and pocketing the difference? The room went silent. Mrs. Hainard pressed a hand to her chest, her face going pale. No wonder my skin hasn't been right lately. You've been feeding us imitations this whole time? Mr. Hainard's brow furrowed. Brina, I want the truth. Where did those ingredients actually come from? I looked at that stack of invoices and almost laughed. 20,000? The premium ingredients the Hainard family went through daily. 100,000 wouldn't have covered it. For 10 years, every shortfall had come out of my own pocket. Because Henry Hainard had once saved my grandmother's life. I had promised him I would keep the Hainard family comfortable and well provided for, at the highest standard, for 10 years. Every meal, every detail. Did you contact the supplier? I asked calmly. Why would I need to? This doesn't add up on a basic level. Anita looked pleased with herself. I already blacklisted that supplier. From now on, all household purchases go through my discount links. Better value, better reach. I nodded. Good luck with that. Anita thought she had me cornered. Since you're basically admitting it, out of respect for your 10 years here, we won't call the police. But you're paying back every cent. And you're fired. Pack your things and get out today. Lori frowned. Anita, maybe we give her another chance? Anita turned on him immediately. Lori, are you taking her side? She stole from this family. Mrs. Hainard chimed in from the side. Exactly. We raised her for 10 years, and she turned around and stole from us. If we let her stay, who knows what else she'll pull. I had been planning to mention the Berlano licensing issue before I left, as a last courtesy to Henry's memory. There was no reason to now. Fine. I'll go. I turned and walked to the housekeeper's room. Anita followed right behind me like an overseer. Hurry it up. Don't drag this out. Everything in here belongs to the Hainard family. You're not taking a single thing. I stepped inside and pulled my suitcase out from under the bed. I didn't have much. A few changes of clothes, some books on herbal medicine, and my grandmother's belongings, which she had left me. Anita wrinkled her nose. These old books are moldy. Throw them out. I don't want them contaminating my space. I picked up my suitcase and walked out of the room I'd lived in for 10 years without looking back. Henry Hainard, we're even now. I've repaid what your family did for my grandmother. I walked straight out the front door of the Hainard estate and dialed a number I hadn't called in 10 years. It picked up after one ring. Uncle Rick. An excited older voice came through on the other end. Miss Brina, you're finally calling. Uncle Rick's voice was booming through the receiver, so loud and full of frantic relief that I had to pull the phone a few inches away from my ear. 10 years. 10 years you've been hiding out in that middle-class suburban birdcage, acting like a common servant. We've been waiting. The board of directors at Berlano Tech has been waiting. Your grandmother's trust is unlocked. Please tell me the promise to old Henry is finally fulfilled. I looked back one last time at the towering gates of the Hainard estate. The paint was peeling slightly at the edges, a detail I would have had fixed by noon yesterday, but today it wasn't my problem. It's fulfilled, Uncle Rick, I said, my voice dropping the rehearsed, submissive tone of a house manager and returning to its natural, sharp clarity. Send a car to the studio apartment on 4th Street. And Rick? Call the legal team. I need a full audit of the Berlano licensing agreements. Immediately, Miss Brina. We'll have a Bentley outside your door in 10 minutes. I hung up, a strange, light sensation spreading through my chest. For a decade, I had intentionally suppressed my true identity, my education, and my family's massive tech conglomerate, Berlano International, all to repay a blood debt to a man who had shown mercy to my dying grandmother. Henry Hainard had been a good man. His descendants, however, were a flock of short-sighted vultures coached by a Cambridge-certified idiot. While I was settling into the leather interior of a luxury vehicle, the Hainard household was entering the third circle of corporate managed hell. Anita Jones had set up a literal command center at the dining table. 3 monitors were blinking with color-coded Excel sheets. She had hired 3 cleaners from a budget agency for a combined $4,500 a month, confident she had achieved peak cost optimization. See? Anita boasted to Lori, tapping her keyboard with a manicured finger. The cleaning KPI is at 94%. They mopped the floors in record time. Efficiency, Lori. That's what Brina lacked. Lori didn't answer. He was staring at his phone, his face gray. Anita, the Berlano Group just issued a formal notice. They're reviewing our exclusive license for the core algorithm. They say there's been a breach of standard operating respect in our management team. Oh, please, that's just a standard legal bluff, Anita scoffed, waving her hand dismissively. I know how these tech firms operate. They just want to renegotiate the royalty split. Leave it to me. I'll write them a proposal that will optimize their cash flow. Before Lori could reply, a loud crash echoed from the master bedroom upstairs. Mrs. Hainard stumbled down the stairs, her hair completely matted, her expensive silk pajamas stained with coffee. Her eyes were bloodshot and wild. Anita, those pills. You said they were scientific. Anita blinked, startled. Mrs. Hainard, melatonin takes time to adjust to your circadian rhythm. I haven't slept in 36 hours. Mrs. Hainard shrieked, throwing the empty plastic pill bottle directly at Anita's face. It missed, bouncing off a monitor. My head feels like it's being crushed by a hydraulic press. Brina used to massage my temples with lavender and chamomile oils that she brewed herself. These synthetic horse pills make me feel like I'm tripping. Calm down, mother, Lori groaned, rubbing his own temples. We'll just buy the oils online. We can't. Mrs. Hainard wept, sinking onto the sofa. I checked her room. She took all her notebooks. The commercial oils give me a rash. I want Brina. By 4 p.m., the high-performance health optimization loop completely broke down. Mr. Hainard had spent the afternoon consuming the clean-eating meal plan Anita had ordered via a discount bulk delivery link. What Anita's Cambridge degree hadn't taught her was that organic vegetable broth from a commercial supplier often contained high amounts of hidden sodium and yeast extracts, absolute poison for someone with severe gout. A guttural scream echoed from the study. Lori and Anita rushed in to find Mr. Hainard clutching his right foot, his face purple, tears streaming down his face. His big toe was swollen to the size of a tennis ball, angry and crimson. The ambulance. Mr. Hainard roared, gasping for breath. Call the ambulance. It feels like someone is drilling into my bone. I don't understand, Anita stammered, pulling up her spreadsheet. The database said the broth was 100% vegan. It shouldn't trigger an inflammatory response. Brina didn't buy broth, you idiot. Mr. Hainard choked out, his voice cracking with agony. She spent 6 hours every Tuesday boiling black cherries, celery seed extracts, and fresh dandelions down to a base liquid. She hid it in the soup so I wouldn't complain about the taste. Call her. Tell her I'll pay her $60,000. Just tell her to bring the extract. Lori frantically dialed my number on speakerphone. It rang 3 times before I picked up. Brina, Lori yelled, his voice cracking with panic. Dad's having a massive gout flare-up. He's screaming. Where did you leave the custom meal logs? What was the ratio for the cherry extract? On my end, the quiet, melodic string quartet of a high-end country club restaurant was playing in the background. I took a slow sip of my tea before answering. Lori, I told you before I left. That meal plan and those botanical ratios are my personal intellectual property. They aren't included in a $3,000 cleaning contract. We'll pay you. Lori begged, ignoring Anita's furious nudges. Name your price. $70,000 a month. Just come back and fix this. I'm afraid I'm unavailable for household optimization, I said smoothly. I've recently accepted a new position. But if you need a recommendation for a senior medical nutritionist, their market rate starts at about $120,000 a year. Good luck. I hung up just as the sirens of the ambulance began to wail outside their estate. 2 weeks later, the Hainard family business, Hainard Tech, was on life support. The deal worth tens of millions that Lori had tanked due to his AI earpiece glitch had created a liquidity crisis. Their only saving grace was the upcoming annual renewal meeting with the Berlano Group. Without the Berlano algorithm, the Hainard family software was nothing but an empty shell. Lori, Mr. Hainard, still leaning heavily on a cane, and Anita sat in the grand conference room of Berlano International's glass tower. Anita was wearing her best corporate suit, her tablet loaded with an aggressive presentation meant to optimize the licensing fees in their favor. Don't worry, Anita whispered to Lori, patting his arm. The Berlano CEO is a traditionalist. Once I show him the data analytics on how our partnership expands their market reach, they'll renew the license on our terms. The double doors of the boardroom opened. A dozen executives in tailored black suits entered, standing in a perfect line. And walking at the center of them, dressed in a bespoke white blazer, her hair styled in sleek, razor-sharp waves, was me. Anita's tablet slipped from her hand, clattering onto the glass table. Lori stood up so fast his chair flipped over backward. Brina? What? What kind of joke is this? Why are you wearing that? Did you get a job here as a secretary? Uncle Rick, standing right beside me, leveled a glare at Lori that could have melted stone. Watch your mouth, young man. You are speaking to Miss Sabrina Berlano, the majority shareholder and newly appointed chairperson of the Berlano International Group. Mr. Hainard's cane slipped from his grip. He fell back into his seat, his mouth opening and closing like a fish out of water. Sabrina. Berlano? Henry. Henry never told me your last name. Because Henry knew that if he told you, you would have treated me like a business partner instead of a human being, I said, sitting down at the head of the long table. I leaned back, crossing my legs elegantly. He wanted to see if his family had the basic decency to respect someone who served them. Clearly, the experiment failed. Anita tried to recover her footing, her face a mask of panic and calculation. Miss Berlano. Sabrina, there's been a massive misunderstanding. The cost optimization strategy we implemented was strictly professional. It wasn't personal. As a finance professional, I'm sure you understand that a $50,000 housekeeping salary is statistically an anomaly. Do you want to talk about statistics, Anita? I interrupted, tossing a thick folder onto the table. It slid perfectly, stopping right in front of her. Let's talk about the $100,000 a month I spent out of my own pockets for 10 years to keep the Hainard Group's suppliers from going bankrupt. Let's talk about the premium sea cucumbers you called fakes. They were sourced from my family's private marine reserves in Hokkaido. The market price is $12,000 a kilogram. I let your family eat them for free because I promised Henry the First would keep you healthy. Lori looked like he was going to vomit. Brina, you You paid for our food? I paid for your lifestyle, Lori, I said, my voice deadpan. Your father's health, your mother's sanity, your company's international communications. I handled it all because a promise is a promise. But that promise expired 48 hours ago. I turned to Uncle Rick. Cancel the exclusive license. The Hainard Group has 24 hours to remove our algorithm from their software. No, please. Lori dropped to his knees right there in the boardroom, his pride completely shattered in front of his board members. If you pull the license, we go bankrupt by the end of the month. We'll lose the house. Everything. Brina, please, for the sake of my grandfather. Your grandfather would be ashamed of you, Lori, I said, standing up and buttoning my blazer. You let a woman with a fancy degree and zero wisdom drive away the only person who was holding your fragile world together. I walked past them toward the door. As I passed Anita, who was shaking so violently she couldn't even pick up her tablet, I stopped. Oh, and Anita? I smiled, a small, cold expression. The going rate for a bankruptcy lawyer off the street is about $3,000 an hour. I'm sure you can find one that fits your forward-thinking budget. I walked out of the room, the doors shutting behind me with a firm, final click. Behind me, I could hear Lori's frantic shouting and Mr. Hainard's heavy, defeated groans. The Hainard family was finally going to experience exactly what a $3,000 life felt like, and for the first time in 10 years, I was going to enjoy my evening.